Hello and welcome to the Hoop Heads podcast. It's Mike Klinzing here with my co-host Jason Sunkel tonight, and we're jumping on to talk some NBA. And we decided that we are going to go through the preseason over and unders, compare them to where the teams currently sit in terms of their expected over under. And we debated whether or not to do the entire league tonight. But since that's 30 teams and we know how much we like to pontificate about the teams, we felt like doing the entire league in one night might not be the best way to go. So, since usually the Eastern Conference gets to go first, we decided to flip the order and go with the Western Conference tonight. And that's going to hopefully allow us to talk a little bit about each one of these teams, think back to their expectations in the preseason, and then compare that to where we sit as we begin to approach the halfway point of the NBA season. So let's go ahead. Western Conference, Jay, maybe you walk us through sort of how you're going to design this and bounce stuff off of me.
So the basic gist of how this is going to work is I have gone to FanDuel and gotten the current live over unders for the teams. Now, I will be honest that there were two teams that there was no over under posted on FanDuel. I'm assuming because they are playing right now. San Antonio, Oklahoma City was not posted there. So I got my number from a different spot. I got my number from DraftKings. They had it still posted. So I don't exactly know why. But that's the only one. Those two teams, when we get there, obviously, it might be because of this game tonight they're playing right now. I don't know why FanDuel, they're the only two that right now are playing that weren't posted when I did this exercise, and I looked at 9:15. So I don't exactly know why that's the case, but when we get there, it is with the caveat that it is a DraftKings instead of a FanDuel. Not that that should really ultimately matter, right? So
Either FanDuel or DraftKings would like to sponsor this segment, please feel free to reach out to the Hoop Heads podcast,
yeah,
Mike at
yes,
hoopheadspod.com,
and
if
if
you
they
want to
do,
sponsor.
and if they do that, and they want to sponsor us, then we would specifically, um, hey, if Netflix, you're grabbing up all these other podcasts, Netflix, if you want us to draw in 10 viewers or whatever that we get on our YouTube stream, please contact us. We are happy. Heck, we'll just go on Netflix. I mean, I think Mike would agree to this. If you want to put us on Netflix for a month, we'll do it for free just to get the exposure. Mike, what do you say? What do you say, Netflix?
I'm in.
Give it to
I'm in.
us.
I'm in Netflix. You can see
You're
Mike's
you're
electrical
we could
outlet and Jason's slatted
closet.
1970s closet. Yeah, so it's all good. You can,
Yeah,
if you
and
want
then
us
we could
to,
talk.
if you want
We
us to
could, and then
dramatically upgrade our backgrounds, we're happy to do that in some way, shape, or form.
yeah,
We'll figure it out.
we can do that. We can do that, and we can maybe start to go to meals at like Shakey's or something with Bill Simmons and stuff. I don't know.
Very good.
Anyways,
Sounds
so
like a plan.
so we're gonna go through this, and we're gonna go through this alphabetically. And so my view, at least, Mike, is I'm gonna tell you the team's current record. After I tell you the team's current record, I'll tell you what the preseason over under was, and then you're gonna predict whether you think it's gone up, it's gone down, or it's stayed the same. Now I'm gonna tell you that there are a few that have stayed the same, but a majority of them have shifted. And actually, when I say a few of them, there's only one that has stayed the same.
Okay.
There's only one the only one that has stayed the same. Okay, so we're gonna start with the Dallas Mavericks, who are 15-25. Their FanDuel total at the beginning of the season was 41.5. Do you think their over under has gone up or down, Mike? I'm giving you a softball to start.
I feel very confident in saying that the Dallas Mavericks current over under is significantly below the 41 number that was posted at the beginning of the
Guess the
season.
line. Guess the line, Mike. Here, we're going to do our own
Okay.
version of Guess the Lines
All
tonight.
right.
Netflix,
So
see, this
I
is
will
what you can
say
get. We just rip off Simmons. All right. Guess the line, Mike. How much has it dropped? What is
currently they are 15-25. Anthony Davis is out for, let's just call it a significant period of time with
he might
his
not come
hand
back. They're talking
injury.
about trading him, Mike. He's getting surgery. It was announced today he's getting surgery, and that they're still exploring trade options for him to be available for the postseason. What
Okay,
team
well
is what team is doing this? What team is doing
let's
this?
table let's let's table the trade talk for just 1 second here before let me make my guess. So I'm going to say that right now they're sitting at 15 and 25. So they have played 40 games. So they have 42 games left. I'm going to say that the current number is 24.
It's 28 and a half, Mike. I'm
Oof.
hitting the under. I'm hitting the under still.
Yes.
By the way, I may as well green. I'm going to green these ones. We both predicted the under at the beginning of the season. I'm greening it because there's no way that they're getting to 41 and a half wins. I'm greening that. We got that one locked in, Mike. Locked and loaded. Locked and loaded.
Okay,
So
so the Dallas Mavericks. Let's start with this. Anthony Davis, one, is not going to play. So if he is not going to play for the rest of the season, it seems highly unlikely that their other injured star, Kyrie Irving, who is coming back from an ACL injury, it seems very unlikely that Kyrie will step foot on an NBA floor this season either. Because why would you rush him back in an attempt to do what? I have no idea. If you are the Dallas Mavericks, you are currently in a position where you have traded away the majority of your draft picks. And the only one that you have left is this year's number one pick. So Dallas is extremely
incentivized
incentivized
to lose.
to join the tankathon and lose as many games as possible because really to garner a homegrown talent to nurture next to Cooper Flag, this is their only chance, barring some other type of trade or deal that brings them back number one picks from some other team. But as far as controlling their own destiny and their own pick, this is, I believe, the only pick they have in the next 4 years for sure. I want to say maybe even five, where they will not have a number one pick. So, therefore, I just don't see how Dallas, one, why they would want to win. And two, with the roster constructed the way it is, I don't even see how they can win based on what the roster is without Anthony Davis and without the prospect of Kyrie Irving coming back. Now, Cooper Flag continues to improve and get better as the season has gone along. He's proved more and more and more that at this point, as an 18-year-old kid, I would say he has just about everything you would want in a superstar player except a three-pointer at this point. He's not incapable of making threes, but it certainly is not something that he is good at this point. Now, he's a good foul shooter. He's got a nice touch from the mid-range. His form is excellent. I would anticipate that as he grows and matures and is in the league and puts in the work, that he is going to develop his three-point shot, which is going to put him on the trajectory that everybody thought that he was going to have when he entered into the league, which was superstardom. I don't think he's done anything to this point that would dissuade us from thinking that that's the case. But I
He's
don't
not been
think
Anthony Bennett, Mike. Is that what you're saying? He hasn't been Anthony
he's
Bennett.
better. He has not been Anthony Bennett. He has been significantly better than that. And there's, I just don't see though how an 18-year-old Cooper Flag can take this roster of players and push them past, certainly not 28 and a half wins when they are, as we said earlier, incentivized to lose games to try to get another high draft pick so that they can pair another young player with Cooper Flag. And so the combination of the injuries and the incentives that are in place for Dallas to not be very good this year, I just don't see how they go. 28 and a half to me is preposterous. I don't think they come anywhere close to that unless Cooper Flag just suddenly decides I'm taking this team on my back and he matures 3 or 4 years in the space of the next 3 or 4 months. And even then, if that happens, I think Dallas ends up concocting some fake injuries and sitting him down so they can give themselves at least a crack at getting to the top four in this lottery.
Yeah, so I went to Real GM as you were talking, Mike, and I looked at what first round picks they have. Here's what they've got. They've got this year's pick. If they have the first or the second pick next year, they own it. Any other pick goes to Charlotte. Okay. 2028 They own their pick. However, Oklahoma City has the right to swap with them. So I have a feeling Oklahoma City is going to be swapping with them. So they'll still have a first round pick, but it will not be their own pick. It will be the Oklahoma City pick. So which I mean, I can't prognosticate 2 years out down the line, but Oklahoma City is not getting worse in the next 2 years. They're going to be a top, 5 team for sure, in my opinion, right? And then in 2029, they have this is the convoluted one. Two most favorable of Dallas, Houston, Phoenix to Houston, then other to Brooklyn. There's like 15 different machinations. They could end up with their pick, but as of now, the Lakers own it for the most part. And then in 2030, they own their pick, or San Antonio has a swap with them. So
So
once
the
again,
basic premise of all those picks is they are not going to be able to have a shot at a high lottery pick because they are going to get the worst of their pick and somebody else's pick. And so unless both teams that are involved in that swap are objectively horrible, they're probably not going to have another bite at the apple beyond this year. And certainly they want to try to get there.
oh, and actually I lied to you because the 2031, the 2031, they don't have any rights to. It's not even a swap with San Antonio. There's two picks that they have. One of them goes to Minnesota and one of them goes to San Antonio. Minnesota gets the least favorable, and then San Antonio gets the least of the two favorable. So they don't have anything in 2030. So the bottom line is this: unless they're terrible next year, they don't have a good pick after this year. And I don't see them being terrible. I mean, next year, because Kyrie's going to be back theoretically if he's on the team. And that's obviously a big if, but I don't know. Dallas is in a bad spot right now. And the fact that, my favorite was the tweet after like 2 or 3 weeks ago where they said Dallas is looking for a youthful guard who can shoot and add to the offensive end. And I'm like, you had him on your team, you idiots. And you let Nico Harrison trade him, and then you got rid of him. You fired him. Not even 6 months after the trade. What, man? Mark Cuban's got to be like pulling all his hair out and screaming, and I can't even imagine what he's feeling right
It's a
now.
mess.
Yep.
Anthony Davis. All right. Is there any way that any team trades for Davis? Like Davis now, I think I forget what he's making, but he basically has a player option 3 years from now, I believe, because he's under contract, I think, for this year, next year, and then he has a player option. That player option, I think, is like $63 million. There's no team that is going to trade for Anthony Davis and give back anything of value. You're not getting draft picks for Anthony Davis. You're not getting a great young player for Anthony Davis. If Dallas
Would the
were
Lakers trade
somehow
LeBron?
able to
Would
trade
the
him,
Lakers trade LeBron for Anthony Davis? I'm joking. I'm
no,
joking.
I
I'm
don't.
joking.
Look. There's just there's to me. I don't see. Look, we said that I told you I didn't last week. I didn't see the Trae Young trade, and Washington made the trade. But the one thing that I did see was that if they did trade him, it was going to be in a salary dump. And that's essentially what it was. They got back to expiring contracts. Now, two guys that might play for Atlanta
Oh,
this year,
listen,
but probably
I'm
two
telling
guys
you
that,
that trade, and we're focusing on the Western Conference, and we're going to spend 15 minutes on the first team. So this is why we're doing just the Western Conference tonight, Mike. But 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 I think CJ McCollum, the way he's played for the terrible Wizards this year, makes Atlanta more dangerous. If Porzingis
yeah,
can
those guys,
play, I think Atlanta's not going to be a pushover. They're going to be a team that that people might actually be a little bit scared of, just because I think that they have some depth and flexibility. But
I don't,
you know,
I don't disagree with you there. I think Kispert and McCollum can both help Atlanta. I also think that you're not going to have those guys coming back to Atlanta unless they are making significantly less money than what they are now. And Anthony Davis's situation is not the same. Trae Young, I guess, has the remainder of this season and then a player extension. So he has essentially half a season and then a player option. Anthony Davis has half a season, a whole nother season, and then a player option at that point. And with his injuries and the fact that I find it very, very hard to believe that any team would want to extend Anthony Davis off of a $58 million base salary, where if you're going to extend him, that you have to give him somewhere in the neighborhood of that same amount. It's insane. No team is going to trade for him, even if it's just strictly a salary dump from the Mavericks. So I think if you're Dallas, your ideal scenario, if you're the Mavericks, is you lose as many games as possible for the remainder of the season. You continue to watch Cooper Flag develop. You sit Kyrie Irving for the remainder of this season. He comes back full strength next year. Anthony Davis somehow remains relatively healthy next year. You shoot up to the top of the lottery. You get a chance to pick one of the consensus top 3 or 4 guys, pair that guy with Cooper Flag, and all of a sudden next year you could be back to some semblance of, I wouldn't say title contention, but you could certainly be a very, very competitive team next year if everything breaks right. The odds of that happening are pretty low, but if you're a Dallas Mavericks fan, that's what you're hoping for. So,
Yeah. All right. On to the second team, Mike. The Denver Nuggets. Denver Nuggets are 26-13 currently. At the beginning of the season, their over-under was 54.5.
I mean, they're right about on that pace. I'm gonna say that Jokic is still out. They've slowed down in terms of their winning percentage, so I'm gonna say that FanDuel has taken that into account. I'm gonna bump it down one game, 53.5 for Denver.
All right, Bill Simmons, you're cheating. You're looking. You're looking. No,
I'm not.
that's the correct answer. That is the correct answer, Mike.
All
Good
right.
job. There
Okay.
you go.
All right. Well, good. Glad
They've
I'm
gone
glad I
down
was
one,
able to
and
pull that off.
I think the big thing you pointed out, like Jokic's injury is the big albatross in the room, right? Like, what does that mean for the Denver Nuggets? How long is he going to be out? Can the other players step up? Can the other players be healthy? Like, um, that's the bottom line. Can they stay healthy? Can they continue to play? They're 5-5 in their last 10. I don't remember how many games ago he went out, but it's got to be close to the last 10 at this point. I feel like that was 2 weeks ago when Jokic got hurt. They've got to be, they've got to have at least played like 7 games or something like that in the last since
I
he's
want
been
to.
injured.
I want to say they're now. I believe 4. They won tonight. They beat the Pelicans. I want to say they are now 4-3 without Jokic. Maybe they're 5-3,
One of those
but
wins, one
they
of
are
those
definitely.
losses to the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Well, Cavs can't beat many teams, but they beat the shell of the Denver Nuggets. I think the big thing for Denver, the reason why it's gone down, obviously, is because they're not winning at the same clip as when Jokic was in there, which completely is to be expected based on Jokic's plus minus and all the things that we know that how he has an impact on the
Yep.
team, primarily on the offensive end of the floor, but on both ends. But I think when you look at this, what you have to say to yourself is that what Denver is doing right now is they are building guys that maybe you weren't sure were going to be able to contribute on their team in meaningful moments. And those guys are suddenly getting bigger minutes. Peyton Watson has been a guy who has been, I guess, sort of an enigma since he's been in Denver. Great athlete. You can see the tools, but he's never really put it together. And right now for the Nuggets, he's averaging 29 minutes a game and scoring 13 points per game. He's rebounding. He's doing all the things that kind of you would have thought that Peyton Watson maybe could do, and he's actually doing them. And Aaron Gordon is back from injury. Obviously, the only thing with Gordon is can he stay healthy and how's that hamstring and can he last for an entirety of a playoff run? But you've got Jalen Pickett who's playing more minutes. Zeke Najee's even been unburied and is playing some minutes and has been contributing. And so just the fact that you have these guys who are going to be important pieces, maybe not every single game in the playoffs, but there's going to be moments where you're going to need that deeper bench. And last year, that was the Nuggets' Achilles heel. It just wasn't, the bench just was not there. It wasn't good enough. And so when the starters took any kind of a rest, the whole thing cratered. And it feels like, and again, the regular season is different from the playoffs, but it feels like if this team is healthy with the additions that they made in the offseason, Tim Hardaway's been really good. Valanciunas has filled his role as a backup center. Bruce Brown continues to do Bruce Brown things. And then you talk about the guys that I mentioned earlier. They're building a team that has way more depth than what they had last year, where they were relying on Russell Westbrook to play big minutes in the playoffs. And if all these guys come through and are healthy come May and June, I'm not so sure that Denver's not they're not going to be the favorite just because of how good Oklahoma City's been in their record and they're the defending champs. But man, I'm not so sure that this Denver roster, if everybody's healthy, I'm not so sure that they shouldn't be the favorite on paper. So, but I
Well,
understand
and
why you're so
they're gonna
bullish
be
for
tied
them.
with San Antonio for records after tonight. They're gonna have the same record, 27-13 now. So it'll be interesting to see. All right, Golden State, their over under was 46.5. They're
Well,
currently
clearly,
21-19.
in all honesty, I'm kind of surprised. The Warriors have played a little bit better as of late. They went through a tailspin there about 3 weeks ago where it looked like their season was going to maybe spiral out of control, and they've righted the ship a little bit. They're clearly under. I'll say they're going to be. I'll say their over under is going to be. I'll put it at 43 and a half.
Mike, it is the same. It is the one that is the exact same. It's still at 46.5. That's got to
Are
be
you
because
kidding
they
me?
think
There's
they've got people have got to be betting on them. They're too afraid of Golden State. It's got to be a reputation thing. Not it's the only one that is the same. Really quickly, Mike, you and I both picked the over on Denver. I'm not feeling great about that. Um, 55 wins. I just don't know if that's going to happen with this roster now as it currently states. But Golden State, I'm going to give you credit. I think you're going to win this one because you went under and I went over on Golden State. I'm thinking you're sitting pretty right now, but considering it stayed the same, I don't know. Do they know something we don't know? Is like LeBron going to somehow end up on that team? Like I don't exactly know. Um, like what the change is because I think this team is slightly above 500 at best. I was a big miss on my preseason because I was basing it on the end of the season last year with Jimmy Butler and Steph, and I thought this was going to coalesce more, but it has not been a good start to the season. I think obviously Steph is Steph when he's healthy, right? Jimmy Butler when he's not being crazy is good. Draymond Green is fine if he doesn't get kicked out of a game. I think Steve Kerr seems a little bit on edge. I think it's going to be interesting, Mike. I'm gonna make this bold prediction out in the future. This is my prediction. Much like the Pittsburgh Steelers and their head coach Mike Tomlin resigned today. I'm sure you saw that. Mike Tomlin resigned. He's stepping away. When Steph Curry retires and the Golden State is in the rebuild, I foresee Steve Kerr doing the same thing. Maybe one season, and then he's going to fade off into the sunset. Because I just think there's a lot of similarities there in situations, and maybe Tomlin lasted a few years after Ben Roethlisberger left. But I think there's going to be a point at which that's going to happen. So I'm going to say, 5 years from now, we can pull out this podcast and talk about how I made this prediction. Maybe you can make this one of your YouTube shorts for this episode so that we remember about this 5 years from now, because by then you're going to be having dementia and I'm going to be 5 years older and starting to forget things. So maybe we can, I'm just thinking, I think he's going to fade off to the sunset shortly after Steph's retirement. That's my prediction. My bold prediction, Mike.
listen. I don't think it's bold enough because he doesn't have a contract for next year, right?
Oh, what? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he has no contract for next year, and they wanted to extend him, and I don't think he extended. I think there's a pretty decent chance that Steve Kerr is not coaching the Warriors next year. I don't know if I'd want to make it a bold prediction, but I
They
would
bringing
just
Mark
be
Johnson
entirely
back?
stunned if
Mama, there goes that man.
I don't think Mark Jackson's coming back to coach the Warriors. I don't know who would be coaching him, but maybe Draymond, player coach. Now, look, I won't be surprised if Kerr steps down at the end of the season. This team, as constituted, is probably right where they belong because if you look below them in the standings, you have a bunch of tanking teams or just bad teams that I don't think there's anybody below them besides Portland. And I guess maybe the Clippers can continue to move up the standings, who are 8-2 in their last 10, which we'll get to. And we talked about them a little bit last week. But Memphis, Dallas, Utah, Sacramento, and New Orleans are all teams that are going to continue to move in a negative direction, you would have to think. And so maybe Golden State, and maybe that's why their over under stayed where it is that there's teams below them that if you project them into the eighth spot where they are now, that maybe that equates to 46 or 47 wins. I don't think they're going to get there. I do think that there is some dysfunction with the Warriors, clearly centered around Draymond. It'll be interesting to see if anything happens with him, either at the trade deadline, in the offseason. Do the Warriors try to make some kind of a win now move, trade Kaminga, trade some draft choices, try to bring in another player? I don't think it matters because I don't think this team is in any way, shape, or form built to be able to contend for a title. Maybe it makes you better if you trade Kaminga and some draft choices and are able to get somebody in, but I don't think it makes you a true title contender. Therefore, I would lean towards not doing it. But again, I'm not the guy that has Steph Curry on my franchise. Certainly, nobody wants to see him go and finish his career somewhere else. If you're a fan or a front office person with the Warriors, you want to see that guy remain a Warrior for life. And I think if you're going to do that, you want to try to maximize the team as much as possible. But there's going to come a point where not only is Steve Kerr going to be gone, but at some point Steph Curry is going to step away. And if you make a bunch of crazy trades right now and ship out all of your draft picks, there's
Yeah.
going to be a long period of downtroddenness for the Golden State Warriors. So I think they probably just continue to stay the course, maybe make a small Kaminga trade to try to remain competitive. And I think they're probably going to hang around this 7, 8, 9 spot, but I don't think they're getting to 46 or 47 wins. There's no way.
All right. Next up, the Houston Rockets, Mike. Houston Rockets are currently, after their win tonight, 23-14. Okay, so they've played 37 games. They're 23-14. Their over-under at the beginning of the season was 52.5, Mike. They're 23.
I'm going to say they're under, it's under 52 and a half. I'll go with 50 as their number.
49.5, Mike. I have some bad news for you. You went
Okay.
with the over. You went with the over at the beginning of the season. I went with the under. Bad news for you on that one.
Well,
I
hey,
don't think
you're
they're not
talking
getting.
about
I
the
don't think they're
difference
getting to
between,
53 wins.
I would probably bet against that as well, but I don't know that that's completely out of the question. They do, if you look at the point differential in the Western Conference, Oklahoma City is plus 13, and Houston has the next best point differential at 7.1, which is actually the second best point differential in the entire league. So theoretically, they've been
Yeah. Well, do
underperforming
you want to talk
their
about? Do you want
point
to talk about
differential.
how they're? Do you want to talk about how they've played a lot of games against the Eastern Conference and against the bad teams in the Eastern Conference for the most part? They're 12-13 in conference, Mike. They're when you look at the standings, for the Western Conference, they are the only team that's in the playoffs or the play-in that is below 500 against their conference.
That is interesting. And then you look at their home and away splits too, right? They're 12-2 at home. They haven't played many home games. So they've been on the road a lot. They've played 23 road games and they've played 14 home games. So you could make the argument that they've already made all their West Coast or all their East Coast trips. Who knows? I look. It's not out of the question that they win 53. Since I guessed 50 as the over under. I guess I'm taking that as my prediction of kind of where they'll end up. But I think they're capable of getting to that 53 number. I think with Houston, the big thing that you have to ask yourself is, does their offense make sense as a playoff offense? That's the question that I'm asking, because when I look at what they do, right, you have Amin Thompson primarily handling the ball, at least with their starting unit. You have Shengun, who's kind of been the hub of their offense. Then you have Durant, who clearly at his age still is one of the best perimeter scorers in the entire league. But I don't know how you're going to orient that as a playoff offense because I think as good as Şengün has been, I don't know that I want Şengün post ups at the nail to be my crunch time offense. At the same time, I don't know that I want 37 or 38-year-old Kevin Durant just isolating, trying to get me buckets. And I don't know if Reed Shepard can be on the floor defensively, although he's been better since the early part
I
of the
mean, you
season
couldn't
where
be
he was
worse,
basically a
Mike.
turnstile.
Oh.
No, he couldn't be worse than what he was in the first couple games. He certainly found his legs on that end of the floor, and he's at least competed. And he's been a much better offensive player than I think that maybe we gave him credit for early on. But I still think in a playoff setting where teams have the opportunity to game plan and figure out ways they're going to attack Reed Shepard, you're going to have to do a lot of things if you're the Houston Rockets to hide him. So I like the Rockets as a regular season team. I don't love their prospects as a playoff team. I think when I look at the top five currently in the Western Conference, and I know they're sitting at the fifth seed, but I think they are clearly number five out of that top five group in the
Yeah,
West. So I like them as a regular season team. I don't love them as a playoff team just because I don't trust what their offense is going to look like in the playoffs.
yeah, I agree. And, I think once again, this goes back to the fact that I don't think they have a point guard because Van Vliet's being out. I really think that hurts them big time.
Yep.
I think if Van Vliet's there,
Yep.
I'm willing to consider them a contender in the West, probably. But him being absent from this team, just it seems like there's something missing there. So, all right. The next team, the Los Angeles Clippers, currently sitting at 16-23. Their over under at the beginning of the season, which you went over, was 47.5. So I'm not liking the prospects of that, Mike, happening. They're 16-23 now. They're going to have to win 32 games the rest of the way. How many games do they have left? They have 43 games. They got to win. They got to go 32-11 to hit that 48 win total. Good luck, Mike. Good luck,
Okay.
Mike.
So they're not
So
getting
do
to
you want
that
do you want
total. I don't
the
think.
win total? Do you think it's higher or lower, Mike?
Okay. Well, it's clearly lower.
You want to guess how long?
And
How low is it?
I don't think it's maybe as low as I'm going to go. I think they're going to have them at above 500. I'm going to go 41 and a half.
One off, Mike. 40.5. They are not having them above 500.
Okay.
They are
All
marking
right.
them. So, but you were close. I mean, you were close. I give you credit.
Yeah.
Listen, the bottom line is this, Mike. They played like trash the first part of the season. Why? And they've won 3 in a row. In their last 10, they're 8-2. So they've been playing better. Okay. They are 10-9 at home. They are a deplorable road team at 6-14. What's crazy is they've whittled their offensive rate, their difference in their ratings down to 1.5, 1.4. I think at one point they were sitting around in a -5 or something like that. So they've definitely improved there. And listen, this team is going to be a play-in team. I think they're going to be the 9 or the 10 seed. And if they're the 9 or the 10 seed, because I don't have any faith that Portland and Memphis, and we'll talk about them, are going to remain above them if the Clippers continue to play at this level. I think they're going to be a 9 seed hosting the play-in game. It could possibly. If you told me they were going to pass Golden State and Phoenix, I probably wouldn't call you completely nuts, right? Like, I know we just talked about how Golden State's expected win total is somehow 46.5. If you told me that Golden State ended at 43 and the Clippers somehow scrapped to getting to like 42 or 41, I wouldn't say you're completely nuts, right? So the way that they've been playing lately, here's the key. Kawhi Leonard is the key. How many games is Kawhi Leonard going to play? James Harden on defense, talk about a turnstile. There's some possessions I've been seeing lately, and we haven't bagged on James Harden very much lately. But there were some possessions in a game the other day, and I don't remember who they were playing. I saw it on Twitter that he was literally just standing there, staring, watching the rest of the team try to get rebounds and defend, and he's just standing in the short corner. Now there was a guy on him, like he was standing next to a person he was defending. Well, not, I don't know if I would use the word, I'm using the word defending very kindly. He was standing by a guy on the other team. That's what he was doing. But he wasn't boxing out, and he was just watching. I think he watched the other team get like 3 offensive rebounds. I don't remember if they scored or not, but I don't know. The bottom line is this: the Clippers are going to go as Kawhi goes. If Kawhi is out, there's no way this team even, I think they have a chance to be a play-in team even if Kawhi is out half the games the rest of the year, just because the bottom of the West, there's a huge drop off. After Phoenix, I mean, and Golden State, we're talking about, we've got 2 teams in the play-in in the West that are under 500 right now. So, do I think that Clippers are definitely better than them? I do. I think they're better than them right now. And yeah, so that's where I'm at with the Clippers. It's all on Kawhi's shoulders.
We talked a ton about the Clippers. I don't know, was that last week or the week before? I can't remember, but
It was last
it does
week.
come down to the health. It comes down to the health of the Los Angeles Clippers. If Kawhi's healthy, then this team's going to continue to win games if he's playing at the level that he is right now, which he's been at probably an all NBA type of level in the games that he's played this season. And if he continues that, then the Clippers are going to be good. And if he's injured or can't play, right now he's day to day with an ankle sprain, may or may not play on Wednesday in their game. Who knows? But I think it's certainly feasible for the Clippers to move up, as we said last week, for them to move up in the standings. And yeah, if I don't I let's put it this way, I don't have any more faith in the Warriors being good and functional than I do in the Clippers. So I wouldn't be surprised. The only difference is the Warriors have won 5 more games than the Clippers at this point. I'd say that's the only advantage I give them, one team versus the other. So yeah, I expect the Clippers to move up into the play-in, and we talked about them a lot last time. So let's just leave that there.
All right. Next up, the Los Angeles Lakers. Their record currently is 23-14, the same as the Houston Rockets. Their over-under win total at the beginning of the season was 49.5. Now, I'm just putting this into perspective. Their win total was 49.5. Houston's win total was 52.5. The Lakers and the Houston Rockets have the same record right now. What do you think happened to the Lakers over-under win total?
I believe that the Lakers easy for me to say, over under win total has gone down,
You are
despite the
correct.
fact that they have a 23-14 record. What was the number that you said it was? 49 and a half?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to say it went down. I'm going to say it is now down to who? I mean, it's hard because people want to bet on the Lakers, right? There's a lot of Lakers fans out there. There's a lot of Luka and LeBron fans. But I don't know how you can look at this team and their defensive deficiencies, their negative point differential, the things that are going on, and think that they are going to continue to win at the same pace. Part of me wants to drop it a fairly significant amount, but I don't think that's probably what happened. So I'm going to put it at 46 and a half.
47.5, Mike. 47.5. It's only gone down two. Listen,
I mean, it's
you've
fair
basically
because again, people
it's
want to bet on the
listen,
Lakers.
as my dad says, the betting market isn't necessarily about the expected outcome. It's about what people are willing to bet on, right? That's what, the big driver of the betting market is. Like, for example, last night in the NFL game. Now I know that it didn't look pretty in the first half, but did anyone really expect the Pittsburgh Steelers to have any chance in that game last night to cover? And the fact that Houston was only favored by 3 points is idiotic. That defense was going to destroy. I could have told you that defense was going to. They just lost to the Browns. Okay, they just lost to the Browns 2 weeks ago. Get out of here. Just there was no way. But they knew that if they had the line too high, no one was going to bet on it. So that's why you put Houston at 3. You had the crazy Steelers fan betting on the Steelers. So it's the same case here. Okay, the Lakers fans are nutsos. Okay, I was go back 5 years ago. I thought the Lakers were going to win the NBA championship, or 4 years ago, 2022, I think it was. I said the Lakers are going to win the NBA championship. I was 2 years too late. Okay, the bubble championship, and that's been it since LeBron's been there. I just don't listen. I don't. This is what I think. They probably end at 55 wins. We both hammered the under, Mike, on this one on the 49.5. We didn't think it was going to happen. Um, we hammered the under, so I'm liking the chances for that because I don't see this team winning 50 games.
They can't play. They can't play defense, and when you have your three best players on the floor, Luca, who is a serious negative defender, Austin Reeves is a negative defender, and LeBron, although he might have a possession or a string of possessions where he can turn it up, he can't turn it up at 41 years old for an entire game. And when those three guys are on the floor, it is very, very hard to build a credible NBA defense. And as
I
good
like the
as
way
they
you said
may
that.
be
Credible. I like
offensively
that. That was
at
good, Mike.
times, yeah,
Credible.
I just don't
Credible.
I just don't think it's possible to build a credible defense with those three guys as three of your guys on the floor, which clearly from an offensive standpoint and from a talent standpoint, those are three of your best players. And so I just, as good as their offense potentially could be, and really they haven't shown it in all honesty. I mean, you look at where they sit offensively in terms of their offensive rating, they're right in the middle of the pack. And the offense has to be dynamic. They probably, with their defensive liabilities, they probably, if they really want to be a legitimate, I'm not even going to call them contender, but if they want to legitimately be a team that could threaten to even make the Western Conference Finals, they would have to have an elite top five offense. And they just don't have that. And this team, the construction of it doesn't fit. I don't know what happens with LeBron going beyond this year. And if you're the Lakers, ultimately at some point you have to kind of just start to reset your roster around Luca, and you got to get Luca to buy in and have him play some defense. And if he doesn't, maybe you can still win a championship at some point if you put the exact perfect roster around him with enough defenders to cover up for him. But at some point, I know he's in better shape, but you got to buy in a little bit more on defense if you want to get to where you want to go. So I expect the Lakers to go under their original total, to go under the total that we have now. And right now they kind of been doing it with smoke and mirrors and winning. I think they're like 13-1 in clutch games, which makes sense to some degree because you have guys that can get buckets in clutch moments. But those things tend to even out over the course of a season. So I think the
And
Lakers are
and to be fair,
overachieving right
Mike,
now.
to be
I
fair, Mike,
honestly expect them to be.
they've played 28 games in conference, which is a lot already. You know, the only team that I'm looking at, the only teams Sacramento's played more in conference, and the Thunder have played more in conference than them. So, and they're above 500 in conference. They're 18-10 in conference. You know, that's nothing to sniff at, right? They're doing
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, we
They're
don't
hanging
know.
in the conference.
You'd have to go through. You'd have to go through their entire schedule and see if they've played how many games they've played the Kings and the Jazz and the Pelicans and the Grizzlies
Come
and
on,
the
the Jazz are
Mavericks and
great,
some of
Mike.
the
They beat
teams
the
at the
Cavs
bottom. But
yesterday. The Jazz are great. Come on, come on.
I think that says less. I think that says less about the Utah Jazz and more about our Cleveland Cavaliers. But we'll save that
Next
for
week.
next week. I'm not buying. I'm not buying the Lakers. So give me. I'm going to pound the under again on the Lakers.
Yep. All right. Next up, Memphis Grizzlies. Currently sitting at 17-22 at the beginning of the season. So 17-22 at the beginning of the season, their over under was 39.5.
So I think it's probably lower than that. How
I
much
guess.
lower? I mean, clearly Memphis has had turmoil, let's say 39 and a half, and they have 17 wins. I'm going to drop that down to, let's take that to the 6.5.
Yeah, that's what I would have expected it to be at, but FanDuel has them at 34.5. They dropped them even lower.
Okay. All right.
Are they anticipating a Ja Morant trade? Because I know there are teams that are inquiring. I mean, if I'm Memphis, I think it's time to cut bait. This is the question that we've had. If you're Memphis and if you're New Orleans, would you cut bait with Ja Morant? Would you cut bait with Zion? Is it time to do that? Is there a trade that you would do in order to make that happen? I think at this point, I think I said it a few weeks ago about Zion. If I'm the Pelicans, I would cut the ties with Zion. I think if I'm the Memphis Grizzlies, if I can get out of the Ja Morant business, I'd get out of the Ja Morant business. There were like 5 teams. By the way, I will say this, though. There were 5 teams that were listed as possible landing spots, and the Cleveland Cavaliers were one, and I wanted to rip my hair out because I do not want anything to do with Ja Morant on my roster. I think he's a dynamic player, and but I don't need all the extra stuff. I just don't need the baggage.
What would
You
the
know,
Cavs? What would the Cavs trade for Ja Morant? What would
I
possibly be
I
a trade
saw
package
I
that the
saw
Cavs
I
would?
saw I saw Darius Garland and DeAndre Hunter for Ja Morant.
The trade makes no sense for the Cavs because again, if you're the Cavs and you're going to trade Darius Garland, you would only trade him with the idea that you are bringing in a guy who has size to play next to Donovan Mitchell, and Ja Morant clearly does not provide size next to Donovan Mitchell. That would be an idiotic trade for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think that honestly, the Memphis Grizzlies are in, I don't want to say the exact same spot as the Atlanta Hawks because I do think that the very best version of Ja that we have seen, and it sounds crazy in some ways because Trey did take Atlanta with weird circumstances, but they did make the conference finals. Ja has won, I think, one playoff series, maybe two with Memphis, but I still feels like Ja's ceiling. Like I'd rather have Ja at his best than Trey Young at his best. Maybe that's just a personal preference, but there's something about Ja that resonated with me back when he was at his highest point. I don't know if that guy still exists, and I think Memphis is in the exact same position as Atlanta was in that. I think basically what you're doing if you're trading Ja Morant, you are just trying to get him off your books. You are trying to go addition by subtraction, and you're not going to get much in the way of a haul of players or draft picks that can actually help your team. You're looking to pick up some expiring contracts, maybe some dead weight. You're just trying to get Ja Morant off your team. I don't think that there's a huge Ja Morant trade package happening. And to be honest with you, at this point, with the way Ja has played and the troubles that he's had over the last couple of years and the disagreements that he has had with his coach in Memphis this season, in all honesty, if Ja Morant is out of there, I don't think that hurts Memphis's prospects of winning games. I think the question with Memphis is do they go the other way? And they already traded Desmond Bain. If you trade Ja Morant, then you have to ask yourself, are we building around Jaren Jackson? And to me, I would not want to build my franchise around Jaren Jackson Jr. And I would just go ahead and if you trade Ja, I would certainly explore the market for Jaren Jackson, who it seems like maybe he is someone that you could get potentially something back in return that could actually help you. Whereas Ja, I think he's at the point where he's strictly a salary dump. So 34 and a half seems semi disrespectful, but it also, I could see where this team becomes a shell of themselves very quickly. I'll, I think I would go under on the even on the 34 and a half with Memphis.
Yeah. All right, Mike, we're on to the 8th team. We're 51 minutes in. This is why we did not do both conferences. Would have been a
All right,
4 hour
all right.
pod.
Let's speed. All right, we're speeding. All right. We're speeding it up. Go, 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 go.
Minnesota's over under at the beginning of the season was 49 and a half. They are currently at 27 and 14.
I mean, I'm gonna go. This is a tough one. I'm gonna go over, but I'm gonna put it at 50 and a half.
It's 51 and a half. So it went up 2, Mike. Now on this one, we both hit the over of the 49 and a half. I'm feeling pretty good about that. I'm feeling there's a good chance they're going to get to 50 wins. I think, we saw them dominate the Cavs the first time we played them last week. And then the Cavs, and their game with the Cavs on Saturday was more competitive. The Cavs pulled away in the fourth quarter. But I thought it was, I still felt like they played good. But to be clear though, the second quarter when we played in Minnesota was the only reason they really got blown out in the game. We gave up 46 points right in the second quarter. we were up 9 or 8 after one, and then they had 46 points. So I think once again, I think Minnesota is pretty good team. I think they're going to continue to play at a high level. I think it's going to be Anthony Edwards show how well does he continue to play. Does Rudy Gobert do anything on the offensive end? Is he he's not as great of a defensive player as he was, but he's still pretty darn good. Julius Randle, those possessions that he had last week against Wemby down the stretch, that was pretty impressive. Because he's given up 7 inches to Wemby, I think. 5, 6, 7 inches. I don't know how much. He's like, but he locked him down. There were 3 possessions in the last 3.5 minutes that he just said, "No, Wemby, you're not going to do anything on me, and we're going to win this game." So I think Minnesota's ceiling is still up there. I think they're going to still, I think they're going to crash the 49.5, and yeah, they're a productive team.
I think Minnesota's a legitimate title contender. I think if things were to break correctly and they were to catch in some injury luck, that they're a team that could win the title. And I know they've been to the Western Conference Finals the last 2 years and lost, but they play both the Nuggets and the Thunder pretty well, about as well as you could expect any team to compete against the top 2 teams in the league. I think Anthony Edwards just continues. I know he was your guy in the preseason and he got off to kind of a slow start, but he has really started to turn it around and he is playing at an all NBA type level. Shoots threes. He's starting to read when to get to the basket. His passing, I don't think he's never going to be a LeBron, Luca level of passer, but he's getting more sophisticated in how he attacks out of the pick and roll. He's able to read coverages better. He makes the simple play. He's starting to make some of those anticipatory passes that we talk about with the best passers in the league. And he's almost impossible to guard because he can shoot the three. He's so physical getting to the rim. He's starting to develop a little bit of a post game that we're starting to see. I just think Minnesota is a team that, to me, if I was going to pick one dark horse that I thought had a real chance to win a title, like I think Minnesota is more likely to win the title than San Antonio. As good as San Antonio is, if I was going to pick between, if you gave me a choice of which one of these teams would you want to take to win the championship, I think I would probably take Minnesota over San Antonio. So uh, again, I don't know. Regular season, they still tend to blow some stupid games, and I don't know if I'd go over on the would you say 51.5, but
Yeah,
I think they're going to get above that 49.5. I think this is a 50-win team. Maybe they get to 51 or 52, but I think it's a 50-win team, and I think it's a legit. This team can win the NBA championship. I don't think it's a 75% chance, but I give them a better chance than zero, which is what you'd give to most teams. And I think Minnesota is going to be a team that, again, in the playoffs, nobody's going to want to see Minnesota. And all 3 of the teams ahead of them, Oklahoma City, San Antonio, and Denver, there's not
they're
one of
not
those
excited.
teams that wants to
They're
see
not excited.
Minnesota in the second round. You would much rather see anybody else. So
Yeah. All right. Speaking of teams that have zero chance, the New Orleans Pelicans current record is 9-33. Their over under is 31.5. Mike, we both hit the over. That was their 31 at the beginning of the season. We said over 31.5. I'm going to just go ahead and make those red right now. Mike, go ahead. What do you think their current under is?
I'll say it is currently at
They're 9 and
I
33.
all of
They're
them have
9
been
and 33.
they've all been higher than all of them have been higher than what I would have anticipated. The only reason, and so New Orleans has no incentive to lose. So they have that going for them. So that's, I think, going to keep their number artificially high. I'm going to put them at 24.5.
You are a generous person. FanDuel says 20 and a half. 20 and a half, Mike. They're bad. They're not a good basketball team, Mike. They're just not good. And I don't know. Um, I know you got Zion. Is he injured right now, Mike, or is he healthy?
I believe he's playing right now, but let me just double check.
Did he
I
play
could
tonight? I guess
be
did he
could
play?
be
Did he play?
wrong, but I feel like
Did he play tonight?
Yeah.
Like the
And he's not listed on their injury report. And let's see what Zion did tonight. He's been playing relatively well. Tonight Zion had 12 points. He played 31 minutes. He was 5 for 12 from the floor, 7 rebounds, 4 assists.
so not a great
So
game.
not
Not a
not a
great game.
stellar Zion Williamson game,
So
but
listen, I mean
again,
20 and a half,
I
20 and
think
a
with New
half is literally
Orleans,
expecting 20 and a half is literally
you
expecting New Orleans to
I
win
don't know
half
what
the
you do
games.
if you're New Orleans.
Like
I don't I mean
they
again, the
basically have to
only
double
thing
their
that
win
you can
total.
say is that they're not actively trying to lose because they don't have their pick. So that would be the only reason why that number would be even remotely in the neighborhood of where it is now. I think the big question with New Orleans becomes, and not that it becomes because it's been this for a while now, do they try to reset their team around Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen, the two guys they drafted in this past draft? And do they end up trying to trade Zion, trade Trey Murphy, trade Herb Jones, see what you can get in terms of draft picks and players for those guys, and just do a complete reset around Queen and Fears? And Queen and Fears are both two guys that have had, I would say, good rookie seasons. I think they've both probably exceeded expectations for what people had of them coming out of the draft. And so maybe that's the way to go. I just don't think that, as much as I'm a fan of peak Zion Williamson, I at some point you just have to give up. And if you're New Orleans, I don't know how much longer you can go into every season and think that we're building around this guy. So cut bait, trade everybody, reset the franchise over Fears and Derek Queen, and I'll take the under on their current number as well as the original one.
Yeah. All right. Oklahoma City, their current record after their win tonight is 34-7. Their over under total is 62 and a half for the beginning of the season.
You're breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, you're delayed. Do you want me to leave and come back?
I don't know. You were just quiet. Like I can see you moving sometimes. Then I don't hear you. Um, just reset the Oklahoma City take.
Okay, Oklahoma City is currently 34-7. Their over under at the beginning of the season was 62 and a half.
I didn't hear one word of that.
All right, I'll leave and come back, Mike. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Your upload's only at 53%, by the way.
Yeah, I know. That's where I was the whole Paterno episode, so I'm not sure. But anyway, all right, go for it.
All
Oklahoma
right,
City,
okay.
go.
Oklahoma City. Their current record is 34-7. Their over under at the beginning of the season was 62 and a half.
I'm going to say it's higher than 62 and a half. I'm going to put it at 64 and a half.
63 and a half.
All right.
So you went over at the beginning of the season. I went under, Mike. I'm not feeling good about this pick. I think they're going to get over 62 and a half.
I think they probably are. And although they've tailed off a little bit, obviously from the 24-1 start, I still think that Jalen Williams is coming back, trying to figure out what's going to happen with him and when is he going to return to his all NBA level form that he was at for most of last season and then into the playoffs when he was outstanding. The team is too deep. Their defense is too good for them to continue to lose games. I do think that there is some degree of it's difficult to maintain the ridiculous pace that they started out the season. The Cavs last year, even when they won whatever 65 games and started out the season 17-0, if you take that 17-0 out, the record the rest of the way doesn't look quite as sparkling as winning 65 does when you look at it overall. And I think Oklahoma City is probably going to be in that same position. But the fact is, you banked a 24-1 start. And so once you do that, it's pretty difficult to have a low win total. So I would anticipate them going over both of those numbers just because, again, their defense is so good and they've basically done it for the most part without Jalen Williams and then with a I don't want to say subpar, but a less than optimal version of what Jalen Williams is going to be as the season continues to move along and they reintegrate him and he gets more confident and healthy coming back off his injuries. So I'm going to take over on Oklahoma City. I still think they're the favorite to win the title. I do think a healthy Denver Nuggets team, if I was going to put these two teams on the floor against each other, it would be an incredible series. I'd probably pick Denver at full strength over Oklahoma City, but they're not going to approach Oklahoma City's win total in the regular season. So give me the over on Oklahoma City for both of those numbers.
All right. The Phoenix Suns, their record currently is 24-16. At the beginning of the season, their over-under was 31.5.
I think we can safely say that that number has gone higher, which is crazy.
Well,
Kudos to Phoenix, right?
we both hammered the under, Mike.
Completely understandable. I don't think there's anybody out there, unless you were a Phoenix Suns fan, who believed that this team was going to be a good NBA team. And they have proven themselves to be a good
Here, I have a question
NBA
for you,
team.
Mike. I have a question for you, Mike.
Sure. Sure.
Jordan Knott, head coach of the Phoenix Suns. What staff was he on last year, Mike?
He was part of the Cleveland Cavaliers staff. Maybe it has to do with the downgrading of the Cavaliers on both ends of the floor. I'm not sure. Look, Jordan Ott has done a tremendous job in Phoenix. I think we all made fun of Matt Ishbia when he said that they were going to field a competitive team this season, and they have. And they've done it honestly. Booker's been good, but not great. They've done it with some cast off guys, some former two-way guys. You got Colin Gillespie running the point for Phoenix. You've got Dylan Brooks, who, when he got shifted out of when he got sent away from Memphis, there were a lot of people who thought he was going to end up in China, and he's been, I would say, everything that Phoenix could have possibly hoped for when they acquired him in the Kevin Durant trade. You have to have a particular Dylan Brooks isn't for everybody. I'm not sure that he's for me, but he certainly is a guy who competes and brings a certain level of attitude to your team. And when you have a losing team, a losing program, and you bring in Dylan Brooks, he's going to be a guy that's going to push people to be competitive night in and night out. And if you compete night in and night out in the NBA, it's going to give you an opportunity to win some regular season games. And I think that the combination of a good coach and a roster that is competing night in and night out, plus the fact that Devin Booker, whether you want to call him a star, a superstar, but having a Devin Booker there to be able to turn to him in big moments has turned out to be a good formula for Phoenix. So, look, the number right now, they've got 24 wins. I would say their current number is probably, I'll go 40. I'm going to go 45 and a half.
43.5.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Portland Trailblazers, who are currently playing the Golden State Warriors. Current record sits at 19-21. At the beginning of the season, their over-under was 34.5. We both, once again, hammered the under. This one's going to be a little not good again, I think. I don't feel as confident that I already read us out on the Phoenix one because they're going to end up more than 31 wins. And if they don't, oh my God, something really bad happened to Phoenix.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to say we're completely off on Portland yet, 34.5. But what do you think the FanDuel line is? They're 19-21 now, Mike.
I think it's probably higher than that. I'll jump it up too. I'll go to 36 and a half. I think the difference with Portland is just,
FanDuel is all the way up to 39.5.
so I think Portland, I mean, the key to the Portland success has been Denny Avdia, right? His leap into, he's going to be an all-star. And if Portland had a better record, he might even be in the conversation for all NBA. He's averaging like 26, 7, and 7. I think he's maybe third
He's
in the
averaging the
league in
LeBron.
free
He's
throws.
averaging the LeBron, Mike.
He is. He's averaging the LeBron, but he's like third in the league in free throws attempted per game. Like Denny Avdia is shooting like 9.2 free throws per game. And look, he had a good second half of the season after he came over from Washington, but I don't think anybody saw this coming from Denny Avdia. And the fact that Portland's doing it without Scoot, who was the supposed key to their rebuild, and probably still is if you hit that pick and Scoot gives you what you would expect from a number 2 pick. Maybe you're a little bit further along in your development as a team. But Avdia has been the key, and he's the reason why at this point they're overachieving. I don't know what this team is. I do know that they're not actively trying to tank. And so that puts them ahead again of the teams at the bottom of the Western Conference that are actively tanking. So I would expect this team to continue to compete. And I think, would you say it is now 38 and a half?
39 and a half.
39 and a half. I don't know if they get to that number, but they're going to win in the high. They're going to win in the high. They're going to win more than 35 games, I
You
would
know,
say for
maybe
sure.
maybe maybe this
And
maybe this line is a little bit higher because they don't have a coach on their team that's betting.
maybe that could be true. That could be the case. That could be the case. Look, Portland.
Who's the coach of Portland,
I
Mike? Do you
was
know who's the acting coach in Portland?
Tiago Splitter.
Good job.
Tiago
I'm proud
Splitter.
of you.
Yeah, I got that one. I got
Proud
that
of you.
one. I'm good. I'm good on that. All right, let's move on from Portland.
Okay, Sacramento. Sacramento's over under Sacramento's record is much like the New Orleans Pelicans, except they are better than the New Orleans Pelicans. They are slightly better, 10-30. Their over under win total was 34 and a half. What is their current over under, Mike?
So it is less than 34 and a half. I'm going to put it at, let's see, New Orleans ended up at, what did you say? I think was 23
20
and a
and
half for New
20,
Orleans.
no, New Orleans was 20 and a half.
20 and a half. Sorry. So Sacramento, oh man, I have no idea what to do with this. Sacramento is better than New Orleans, but again, Sacramento 21 and a half.
They are the same as New Orleans, 20 and a half.
Okay.
The tankathon is
Look,
on.
this
According
this
according
team
according
this
to FanDuel, the tankathon is on.
they're
I did not get
bad. They're
far
bad.
into my bag in the East, but I'll give you a hint because I was interested in one of the lines. These are the two lowest win totals currently in
20
the
and a half.
in the whole NBA. I peeped at Washington. So now, obviously, when we do next week's number, we're going to base it on what it is on January 20th because it's going to be adjusted based on um,
Right.
what happens in the next week. But Washington was higher than 20 and a half. I won't tell you what number. I'll let you just think about it.
Okay.
But
All right.
so these were the lowest too.
Look, I don't even know what to say about Sacramento other than the fact that
We hammered the under,
the
Mike.
roster. Yeah, well, that's not surprising. The the roster in Sacramento is an abomination in every single way when it comes to building a basketball team. You have guys who I would say aren't really that fun to watch. You have guys who
Get in fights in the hallway.
have yeah, have are earning a lot of money and are not necessarily contributing a lot to winning. You have an owner who has a track record of doing crazy things, and this team just doesn't make any sense on paper, and it makes even less sense on the court. There's not really a whole lot of options of what they can do because I'm not sure that anybody on their team has a tremendous amount of trade value. Sabonis is a good player who puts up stats, but I think the thought around the league is that it would be very, very difficult to construct a high level playoff winning team with Domantas Sabonis at the center of your offense and defense. Sacramento, look, 20 and a half, I'll take the under because I don't understand what they're doing. And I'm glad I'm not a Sacramento Kings fan.
Yeah. All right, San Antonio. I'll have to eat some crow in a second here. All right, San Antonio, 27-13 currently. Their over under at the beginning of the season was 44 and a half. I said the under for some reason. You went with the over. I feel very confident in the over. What do you think the current over under is for San Antonio?
So Minnesota, you had at 51 and a half, and Minnesota is currently sitting behind. All right, so let's put San Antonio squarely in the middle between those two teams, and let's put them at 52 and a half.
They're the same as Denver, 53.5.
I think the thing with San Antonio that you have to look at is clearly the performance of the team to this point has exceeded expectations. And I think what's interesting is that it's exceeded expectations probably primarily because the team has been relatively successful without Wemby on the floor. And they've won and been a better team without him than I think anybody would have expected. When I look at the health of Denver and the health of Minnesota and the health of San Antonio, clearly Wembanyama is the, now I know Jokic is out currently, but Wembanyama is the biggest injury risk of the three main players on those teams, right? I have more confidence in Jokic and Anthony Edwards being able to play for long stretches
Yeah.
of regular season and playoff basketball than I do Wemby. And so I think for that reason, it's kind of interesting that San Antonio is even with Denver. So I think the big question with them, first of all, is the health of Wembanyama. And then secondly, can this team, what are they in the playoffs? And I know that has nothing to do with regular season win totals. But for me, I look at them and I feel like I know what Oklahoma City is. I know what Denver is. I know what Minnesota is. To some degree, I know what the Lakers are. I think San Antonio and Houston are the two teams that I'm not 100% sure exactly what they are at their apex. I know what San Antonio is defensively because you can kind of run whatever schemes you want as long as Victor's back there patrolling the paint. I just don't know offensively what San Antonio looks like in the pressure cooker of the playoffs. So when we get to that point in April where it's time for San Antonio to play some playoff games, I'll be curious to see what their offense looks like, how it runs, who it runs through, and what kind of shot quality can they get for Victor Wembanyama. That's what I'm interested in moving forward with San Antonio.
All right, Mike, we've made it. The last team, the next NBA champions based on yesterday, Utah Jazz, currently sitting at a record of 14-25. Their win total, Mike, was 18.5. They're 14-25. Their win total was 18.5. They are 14-25. They are not a good basketball team. But it was idiotic to have an over under at 18.5. We both hammered the over. I feel very confident that they're going to win 5 more games. They still have a game against the Cavs, I think. So, so I'm going to go. I don't know. What do you want to say as far as where do you think they're over under? We don't need to spend a long time on Utah, but where do you think they're going to be?
It's over that number. Obviously, I'm going to put them. They look. Utah wants to lose. They are hugely incentivized to lose. They still need to try to get a guy in the door who is their homegrown superstar player. That puts a cap for me on their win total. I think they're not going to be down in the level of New Orleans and Sacramento, unfortunately for them. But I don't think they climb a whole lot higher. I'm going to put theirs at, I think Utah has proven to be very, very good at tanking. So I'm going to put theirs at 23 and a half.
24.5. 24.5 is their over under. So
I'll take the under
they're
on that. I'll take the under because I think they're going to start actively trying to lose games, and whatever that looks like in terms of injury or personnel decisions or whatever. There's no way that Utah has to put themselves in position to get some lottery luck, and they got to try to build up as much draft equity, capital, odds, whatever you want to say, to be able to try to get to the top of this draft to get one of the 4 guys that are coming out that people feel can be franchise players. And to do anything other than that to me is malpractice. And yet at the same time, the Cavs did everything they could do to contribute, like I texted you, to the NBA's anti-tanking movement by helping Utah to win an extra game with their wretched performance the other night. So
yeah. All right, Mike, we did it. we've achieved our goal. We got through the
did it.
Western Conference.
We got a little extra time. You want to just do the East?
I think that's a good joke, Mike. It's a good joke. I didn't do the research on the East yet, Mike. I didn't do the research on the East. I don't have those totals, so we're gonna have to wait till next week. I'm sorry.
Okay. I understand. All right. Can I ask you one final question? Then we're gonna go.
Yeah, unless it's about the Cavs.
It's not about the Cavs.
Okay, go ahead.
You can only answer yes or no. I don't want any elaboration on the question. Are you excited that the Cleveland Browns may hire Mike McDaniel as their head football coach?
No, my dad is though. I don't know why. My dad thinks that would be a good move.
Oh, okay. Well, I disagree with your father. Anyway, all right. Let's leave it there. Maybe we'll have an actual Browns hiring to talk about the next time we get together and talk Eastern Conference. But in the meantime, we thank you for listening tonight. Really appreciate it. And we will catch you on our next episode. Thanks.